So let's talk about the bread and butter of success norms and a little bit into toxic positivity, which is sort of a thing. Like, it's kind of a thing. How do you label something like that when humanity is so full of people? Everyone's different. So to just say like toxic positivity, like, is already like a thing that, like, you probably have like 300 million, 400 million, 1 billion people are into it. It's just, who knows? So, but the concept of toxic positivity, I saw in this one video, and I like to work off of other creators sometimes. Just to see a video sometimes sparks an idea, but it's like, in the face of like risk and reward and punishment, is just a statement that says like, oh, just work hard. Like, and not just work hard. It's usually something like it's only the like these statements and things, like, it's only the risk takers that succeed. And so I just want to give you the contrary to the popular messages of the self-help community. It says take action, take action, take action, drop out of school, forget 9 to 5. It's what now, there's multiple sides to this that are pretty much real. But so, like, what's toxic about that positivity is that they don't tell you that, like, the punishments, which I just talked about, like punishments from people's, like, corporations, whatever, certain incentives that you're going against. Let's just put it that way. Were real in my experience. Just me. Just my life. So I'd take risks, and yeah, there was some wins, and there was a lot of drawbacks, a lot of like falls at first. Like, so I just did it like socially. That was like how I expressed that. Social risks. And I dealt with cops. I dealt with stern judgments, people in my face, and what that did. It wasn't like this magical reality, like they said, like, just take action and everything. Like, that's how you win. This still is like a dense reality as far as like buildings and the structures of the planet initially, plus certain diets and things. So that stuff absorbed deep inner self-doubts that I have then counter fought and learned how to get strong positive emotions going to fight those off. But there still are those little voices of like, you ain't shit, you ain't shit. That's from certain people. Books and stuff will always have something like, not always, but they'll always have, like, sometimes have stuff where it's like, like these voices in your head, you need to meditate it off. Sometimes it takes just accurately, like, blaming certain entities. Difficult to do, because you're really like labeling it in like a positive kind of way. Just, that's what that is, and then let's move on. These people, chronically negative, this is what I like, and real values, which yes, in my mind, you need to ignore like the clichéness of like everyone's equality rights is like something that's, it's not, I won't call it pathetic, but it's just, equality rights is like, takes people to back it up. It takes real socialism for just equality rights to work. I'm not going to get into that. So toxic positivity will always say like, just toughen up, just take all of the risks, just start risking everything. Risk your money, risk your time, risk this, and there are rewards. Now, being the risk taker is risky as hell. It's called risk for a reason. You could take a day and just look at all the old sayings. Type in like old school sayings or something, and it would, like, all these things, like, some of them would apply because they're like so common that they've actually been forgotten. probably because of the masses. So it's not so much people's fault directly. This has turned into an autopilot machine. So to even meet someone in person is very much a visual acuity to gain. Yet there are some idiots. This is what's forgotten about this message, is there's some idiots out there on both sides. Yeah, there's idiot risk takers, yeah. But then there's idiots who are just like the unspoken community of like shame and stuff, like just that happen to be proactive with a certain mentality that probably goes into their parenting themselves. Who knows? It's not worth a Dr. Phil show. It's not worth this stuff currently with that. But just, in other words, like, so me, like the risks I took as far as learning how to socialize, I wasn't worried about money. That's the deeper risk that I was taking, is I wasn't worried about money. That was risky, and that did screw me over. Okay, I'll just leave that one silent for a second there. That did screw me over. The deeper risk I was taking is I was focused on the craft and a little bit of realism, but I was focused on the craft, and I was forgetting about like how much money I would make, and I thought maybe effortlessly it'll show up, but it'll always be this non-possessive relationship to money where I just won't be so money oriented with like deadlines and fees and all this money stuff, because I was clearly distracted by these things, and they were clearly in the way of my imagination. And that gets into my philosophy, is I like psychedelia. I don't like try to get people to take psychedelics, but in my own mind, I respond to psychedelic type of art that I see in my external world. Nature, certain paintings, things like that. So yes, there's the side of like risk equals reward, like that. Okay, there's a missing link to that message. Risk equals reward. Is risk equals reward for like 1 out of 10 that try. Risk equals reward for 2 out of 10 that try. And the other people, it's like D-Day or something. They just, in the fog and the haze of war, they just fall. So what happens to them in the corporate world, in the corporate war, whatever you want to call it, the competition that is capitalism, they get suicidal. They get the winter blues because they're not able to express, but it's a really like a live history taking place where like they really where it's not all their fault, but the autopilot machine will just give them this feedback. Like, it's just too convenient to tell them, like, you haven't made much money, so you obviously haven't succeeded. Just, yeah. And so then they're like, they can't sustain the amount of depression they get from work and things, and so they just realize they've initially philosophized darker things, which I'm not going to get too much into. I don't want to incentivize someone to like do that. No, don't. I mean, it's really like, there's not really, I can't even say, but I'm honestly saying there's not a good time for that. There's not any good time for that, because it's, what I can say is this is like a test, which gets further into depression of certain religion systems that tells you like, if you mess up this and that, but this is like a test. This is like purgatory. This is like, your physical body is like means of like, in between heaven and hell. It's like a gateway. You can be in the same physical body experiencing heaven and in the same physical body experiencing hell. But you notice you've probably been through both. You've probably had tastes of heaven, glimpses of heaven, glimpses of hell as well. This is like a purgatory type of state, so just stay strong. That's all I can say about that. Then, so like, that's deeper philosophy that will like lead towards, in the mind of the big agenda, just someone not showing up to work the next day or something at first, and then just whatever, but yeah. So I just want to counter opposite and put out the information at least counter punch in the legally speaking whatever jokes that toxic positivity has become a bit of a thing because of some cliche self-help congruent information that basically works, but it only works for certain people. That's like accurate. To just get all risky with your money, drop out, this and that. It's like good to do, but you are being the like seal. You're being like you're swimming in the ocean, metaphysically speaking. You're taking a risk, which is a real thing. That is why only some people survive in that risky, like complete, like some people are luckier than others. Some people aren't lucky enough to learn how to build luck, you know, and so then just perception is reality. Well, you know, misery likes company, hence charisma of helping people out. But like, so this is the theory that pretty much people that do art, therapy, charisma, different things that they get, different games that they run on their own and have let go of like this deep fear. It might not make money, but it will help people. This is like the theory that still is a good thing. That is actually God's mission and path. And potentially the more you align with the highest power you know to be God, then you'll receive more magic where you meet him halfway. And he can work magic where people don't realize, people that don't believe in God will think that you're the one running all the magic. And sometimes God is the one meeting you halfway, but like kind of putting you on in a way. And so that's the theory a lot of us are chasing, is like the more we fight this battle here in purgatory, you're earning riches and rewards for heaven, plus just a free message that like anyone can choose the right path. Like that's really just gets into philosophy that some people actually believe in, you know? So anyways, just that kind of stuff. In my experience, the risks I took from like the age of like 20 to 28, I didn't do it right. I kind of messed up, which is just would have been a thing. I was too young and all this stuff. And to be fair, it kind of worked sometimes, but it was like war on the mind of me and other people that I decided to initially create. And then there was punishments because of other incentives and different invested interests. There was punishments that people consciously did and unconsciously did to me. There was punishments. Jail was just one. There was a little social TFL. I dealt with TFL because of all this. True forced loneliness, where you can't, everyone's like, sorry, we're closing up shop. This is like the 1930s, like the Great Depression. We're closing up on you. We're just shutting the doors now. Closed. Open for business. We're closed. Everyone just shuns you and looks away because it's like a Great Depression of social norms and stuff, or whatever, whatever the nature to that is. So you see all these relationships, like if you were to like reach out to one, you'll like be framed as like super cringy the way you, especially if it's on technology and it's not in person. If you just text them like, hey, you know, hey old friend, like, can I get a ride? Can you help me out here? It, like, they'll view it as so cringy that you did that. They'll be like, no, there's no allowance for us to even help you out with that. You know, that's because you started taking those risks and going against the validation of the machine. So like that is a reality. So then my counter opposite like fight to that kind of stuff happening, and like just the whole picture of risk taking, and the second you take a risk leads towards other risky behaviors, whatever that is. This is like deeper level psychology. I just don't know how to label it all because I don't have the facts. I never was good with facts. I was better with art. Art is in the realm of fantasy, stuff like that. That's beauty. I like beauty. So I started getting into micromanagement. That means like every day I go vegetarian, I know that that's a slow percent gain of my own health, my looks, and slowly saving animals. Different things that I like to work with for fun and a little bit of business is just like stuff like this. This is, to some people, they view it more like this is a wand and they have more perspective on it. I just like it. Well, I'm not going to get into the facts right now. Facts always bore me, okay? Facts bore me. I find them boring. I cannot sustain talking about facts all day without getting bored. So yeah, this is just to validate anyone that's confused in that ocean of a marketplace of like, you know, go to school, do this, and then there's this other like kind of wolf movement, like these installation self-help books tell you like, screw all that, take action. You want to be the top 10%, you want to be the top 1%, you got to take risks, you got to be different. And it's like what they're forgetting to tell you is the backlashes, the things that'll really happen as a result, which are negative, which maybe if I gain the strength in my 30s here, something else will unlock. But just so far, there's from the age of 20 to 28 now, they put me on medications. They threw me in jail. Cops confronted me without arresting me, just confronted me for like doing these things. Like, don't do this. Don't be talking to those hot girls over there. Like, don't, you know, and then I'm like fighting with them, like with my rights, and just each little moment where like you're extra smart over certain people in different fields than them, you feel the pains of like the fighting. You know, I'd be like, well, am I under arrest? They're like, well, no, but if you leave, we can detain you, and you know, and then we might have a case how you try to escape, you know. And I'm like, well, you know, just stuff like that where being the smart ass is like not valued. Okay, so that what I would suggest is just for people that are young, if this was to change anything, just kind of like go with school and get into micromanagement of the hippie movements. Okay, that means like drinking pure water, dabbling with vegetables, being not necessarily vegetarian all the way, but just dabbling with more vegetables, that market. Appropriately investing in different things like legality of certain milder substances that shouldn't be illegal, kratom, different cannabinoids, things like that are turning into petty crimes over time that have just been turned into conspiracies where we're just trying to help those movements for the sake of people's happiness and well-being. I will admit it, for their happiness. Yes. So then this is the kind of stuff that worries Americans, you know? I'll just say that much. And so just, yeah, like, that's the thing, is picture like this risky market where it's like just take action, drop everything, start taking action. Picture it as like the fog of war, like the haze of war, of people like misperceiving the type of wolf that you are. And then picture like D-Day, where like out of every 10 guys, like 2 of them makes it, and the other 8 are just like blown out, and just like just all intense, like warfare, like only some make it, you know. Like that's really how it slowly manifests in like a corporate way, but it's kind of like the dynamics of war taking place. Okay, so that's the risky side that only I will tell you about, is like the negative side to it. You know, on the contrary, don't forget that if you do start taking certain risks with money and monopoly and things that's like out of your league, and you're trying to learn how to get to a higher league pretty much, don't forget that, you know, the bigger the risk, the greater the reward is also a thing. But they forget to mention sometimes when you take that risk, you just lose all of it. And yeah, that type of shit. So that's all I was going to say about that. So it's about a 20-minute clip. This is my little self-help type of, not even like just self-help. I'm just installing how to do this stuff. this is a deeper level of philosophy that just kind of like can be a reminder for young people. Like, I don't know, I would like stay in school in a way, but apply these dynamics inside of school. Like, it can, depending on where you're at, what school, what people, what bunch, what crowd, it can get pretty inconvenient when you start taking the red pills and like studying the dynamics of social dynamics, why they happen, why this stuff, I find this stuff, why do I find this stuff draining, what's really happening, is reality a matrix, those kind of things. Sometimes people can perceive you as fake or like gamey or something. Then they get like scared of you or something. That as when why they start responding is like you're kicked out of this group, and you also don't just like join into popularity. You're just kicked out. You know, like something like that. Like that stuff gets tough. So there's really no way to avoid a little bit of pain when it comes down to it in a way, as far as like being responsible. It's just like taking the pain for other people and then viewing like all the respect you've gained over time. And that's what that would probably look like to people over like a long amount of time. It's like me predicting that. It's just like, so yeah, for you people, like some people, when they tell you like, be tough, like put in the work, they may be very left-brained. Maybe they're very left-brained and they can't picture like a right-brained person, how they think of like art, and they're gonna risk their reality to focus on that art because that's like what God gave them. It's like a dreamy type of vibe, and sometimes there's a such thing as late bloomers who just take a bit with this stuff, you know. And so sometimes it looks like failing because the culture is predominantly left brain and you're living in like a strong right brain frame so much where you're like a philosopher in the time where people don't even get you. So yeah, you fail. And they're just, people without charisma will usually just tell you like you fail because you suck, when the truth is you fail because you're a different type of winner. Really, you're a different type of winner than just what's always labeled as a winner in society. You're like Sigma or Alpha or different. Okay, so there's the total lost aspect to that's just the haze of war, and the toxic masculinity is just toughen up so much, you know, just toughen up, man. Like so much so that we forget about the nurturing feminine side of reality and of nature and artwork. I'm sorry, but art is not ruled by either, but it's kind of feminine. Like it's ruled by spontaneous painting and trying things out in the realm of fantasy. That's what exists alongside the black and white reality of just corporate digits on an Excel spreadsheet and stuff that's really real, you know. So all right, take it easy.